Have you ever noticed that thoughts about sex take up too much space in your mind? Or maybe you feel that your desires are getting out of control, interfering with work, studies, or personal life. Excessive sexual desire is not just increased libido. It is a condition that can significantly impact emotional and physical well-being. Some perceive it as a personality trait, but in reality, if desire becomes obsessive and disrupts daily life, it is worth considering. In this video, we will explore why hypersexuality arises, what consequences it can have, and how to learn to control your impulses. Hypersexuality is a condition in which a person experiences strong and frequent sexual desire that they cannot fully satisfy. It resembles an addiction. The more a person gets, the stronger the need grows. However, unlike regular sexual attraction, hypersexuality is accompanied by persistent thoughts about sex that are difficult to ignore. A person may feel the need for frequent sexual contacts or masturbation, experiencing anxiety or tension if they do not satisfy their desire. Some researchers link hypersexuality to an imbalance of neurotransmitters in the brain, such as dopamine and serotonin. The imbalance of these substances can enhance the urge to repeat sexual behavior, even if it does not bring satisfaction. This may also explain why hypersexual individuals continue this lifestyle despite negative consequences. The causes can vary, and it is important to understand that they are not always purely biological. Often, the root of the problem lies in psychology and lifestyle. Here are some possible factors that can cause hypersexuality. Psychological trauma experienced in childhood or adulthood. For example, abuse or toxic relationships can contribute to the formation of unhealthy sexual behavior patterns. Hormonal imbalances associated with increased testosterone levels or other changes in the body. Disorders of the pituitary gland or thyroid can provoke excessive attraction. Prolonged stress that a person compensates for through sexual activity. Sex may become a way to avoid problems and an emotional release. Depression and anxiety disorders. People suffering from mental disorders may use sex as a means of temporary relief. Addiction to pornography and excessive consumption of erotic content. Frequent viewing of pornographic materials leads to the formation of new neural connections in the brain, making a person constantly seek new stimuli. It is important to understand that hypersexuality is not just a love for sex, but an obsessive behavior that is difficult to control. It can lead to social isolation, deterioration of mental health, and even physical exhaustion if no corrective measures are taken. Many people experience periods of increased sexual desire, but this is not always a problem. However, if sexual thoughts and desires begin to interfere with daily life, it is a reason to reflect. Hypersexuality can be defined as an obsessive urge for sexual activity, accompanied by an inability to control impulses and significant psychological discomfort. Often, hypersexuality manifests not only in frequent sexual contacts but also in constant fantasies, a drive for masturbation even in inappropriate situations, and an uncontrollable consumption of erotic content. People suffering from this disorder may experience intense anxiety, irritability, and even a sense of despair if they are unable to fulfill their desires. Here are some warning signs. Persistent thoughts about sex, even when trying to focus on other things. This can interfere with work, studies, and daily tasks. Using sex or masturbation as a way to cope with anxiety, stress, or depression. Instead of solving problems, a person seeks temporary relief through sexual activity. Regular instances where sexual behavior interferes with work, studies, or relationships. This may include reluctance to spend time with loved ones, reduced productivity, and even social isolation. Loss of control. You cannot stop, even if you understand that it is harming you or those around you. People with hypersexuality often promise themselves to stop, but soon return to previous behaviors. Feelings of guilt and shame after sexual contact or watching erotic content, yet continuing to do it. Negative emotions can lead to a cycle of self-flagellation, which only worsens the problem. If one or more of these points sound familiar to you, it is worth paying attention and trying to understand the causes. Hypersexuality is not just a manifestation of strong libido, but a condition that requires a conscious approach to its resolution. Excessive sexual behavior can lead to serious consequences. Some people believe there is nothing wrong with it, but in practice, hypersexuality can destroy personal life and even affect physical health. In addition, it can cause social, psychological, and financial problems that are difficult to handle alone. Key negative consequences. Relationship problems. A partner may feel used or emotionally distant. This can lead to conflicts, reduced emotional closeness, and even breakups. Loss of control over life. Instead of achieving goals, a person becomes fixated on sexual gratification. As a result, productivity declines and motivation for self-development and professional growth diminishes. Financial expenses on paid content, escort services, or sex shops, which can spiral out of control. In extreme cases, this may lead to accumulating debt or losing financial stability. Loss of interest in real intimate relationships when virtual fantasies replace live communication. Over time, a person may struggle to form emotional connections and build healthy romantic relationships. Emotional exhaustion, guilt, shame, or depression. Hypersexuality is often accompanied by a constant inner conflict where a person realizes their problem but cannot cope with it. This can lead to worsening mental health, increased anxiety, and depression. Increased risk of sexually transmitted infections, STIs, due to promiscuous sexual activity. Lack of control can lead to unprotected sex, increasing the likelihood of contracting dangerous infections. Social isolation. A person may avoid communication with loved ones, feeling ashamed of their behavior. This leads to loneliness, a decline in quality of life, and growing psychological discomfort. The consequences of hypersexuality can be severe, but it is important to remember that this condition is treatable. The key is to recognize the problem in time and take steps to address it. The first and most important step is recognizing the problem. Acknowledge that hypersexuality is interfering with your life and try to find its root cause. This can be difficult, but understanding the reasons behind your behavior is the key to change. Often, hypersexuality is a way to cope with internal problems such as anxiety, loneliness, or stress. Ask yourself, when do I feel the strongest need for sexual release? What precedes it? By analyzing your triggers, you can realize that hypersexual behavior is merely a symptom of a deeper issue. Taking small steps each day can lead to major improvements. The main thing is not to ignore the problem and not be afraid to seek help. If you recognize signs of hypersexuality in yourself, do not panic. This is a solvable problem, and you can overcome it. The most important thing is not to ignore it, but to accept it as a challenge that can be conquered. Change takes time. Small steps every day will lead to a big result. The main thing is to be patient, consistent, and not give up. If this topic interests you, check out our other videos. There is even more useful information there. We continue to explore important issues that help improve the quality of life and achieve emotional balance.